Hotep, everybody. This is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. It is Thursday, July 18th, 2024, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. So I wanted to come on and do a class preview of my new 10-week online history course that I teach on Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, Black resistance movements 1492 to 1968, Christopher Columbus, Haitian Revolution, Black Power movement, how Black people fought against white supremacy, how Black people fought against white supremacy. So this is a fantastic 10-week online course that I deal with, and a lot of the information that we deal with in this class is very timely and applies to what's going on right now also in this political climate. And your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history. Your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history. So if you watch videos that we have broadcasting here on our various social media platforms, if you see me on Roland Martin Unfiltered, you see me on other news outlets as well, you'll hear me talk about that. Okay, so give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a heart on this broadcast. And this is a very visual class that I teach also. You can register for it at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. And I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips. This course looks at different ways that African Americans fought back against racism and white supremacy, and African people, Black people, fought back against racism and white supremacy from 1492 to 1968. From 1492 to 1968. Your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history. We'll analyze history and U.S. history primarily from the African American perspective, beginning in 1492 with the Moors losing control of Grenada, January 2nd, 1492 to Spain, and Christopher Columbus setting sail on his first of 4 voyages later that same year. He set sail August 3rd, 1492 on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. And this is the day after Spain expelled the Sephardim, the Sephardic Jews, on August 2nd, 1492. The first online course that I teach, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We get into this information in that first course that I teach as well. You can register for both of these classes at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. And you can watch the classes live, or you can join us live or watch them on demand also if you can't join us live in the class. All right, now, let's see here. Okay, so his first of 4 voyages, August 3rd, 1492, on the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Now, Columbus helps to lay the foundation for slavery, racism, capitalism, and the exploitation of indigenous people, and exploitation of African people and Native Americans. Now, we'll look at the Louisiana Purchase, 1803, the Haitian Revolution, 1791 to 1804, the Missouri Compromise of 1820, Special Field Order number 15, also known as 40 Acres and a Mule, Special Field Order number 15, and we'll look at the 13th Amendment and the ratification of the 13th Amendment as well. And also this deals with what's known as Juneteenth. And, you know, we just commemorated Juneteenth as well, June 19th, 1865. And if you saw some of my presentations dealing with Juneteenth, I dealt with the misinformation surrounding Juneteenth also. And I talk about how we have to correct the history of Juneteenth and protect the history of Juneteenth, okay? Juneteenth was not the last day of slavery. And contrary to popular belief, you know, you'll have these myths that get told that June 19th, 1865 was the last day of slavery. But when you actually study the history, you'll see that Kentucky and Delaware did not abolish slavery until December 18th, 1865, 6 months after Juneteenth. Okay, so how could Juneteenth be the last day of slavery? Yes, it's important to commemorate Juneteenth because there were celebrations that that broke out in Galveston, Texas, when Major General Gordon Granger delivered General Order Number 3. Yes, there were celebrations that broke out, and if you go back to 1866, yes, they did have celebrations throughout Texas the following year to commemorate what happened the previous year. But we have to correct the history of Juneteenth to protect the history of Juneteenth. And there were 250,000 enslaved Africans there in Texas. Okay, all of them did not get the word on June 19th that that they were freed. Okay, Houston, Texas, the Africans in Houston, Texas, don't get the word to June 20th, the next day, and then it's not until June 23rd that those slaves in Austin, Texas, got the word. So June 19th is the day agreed upon to commemorate what happened June 19th, 1865. But that's not the day that all the slaves got the news that they were freed. And we know that it took a constitutional amendment to legally end slavery. You had to ratify, you had to change, you had to alter the U.S. Constitution because the U.S. Constitution sanctions slavery. So we take you through our history. We look at what leads up to the Civil War taking place, which starts April 12, 1861. And the result of the U.S. Civil War, and then the period of time that follows the U.S. Civil War, the Reconstruction Era. We're still feeling the effects of the U.S. Civil War and the Reconstruction Era. And we know that the Reconstruction Era is going to collapse in 1877 because of what's known as the Compromise of 1877. Okay, the Compromise of 1877, where the Democrats, the Republicans say if the Democrats allow Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican candidate for president, if they allow him to become president, then Rutherford B. Hayes will remove the remaining Union troops out of the South. Okay, and this will allow Democrats to take back control, the white supremacists to take back control of the state legislature, of the local governments, because we know that there were there were about 2,000 African American men who got elected to public office in during the Reconstruction Era, 1865 to 1877. Okay, there were at least 2,000 African American men. African American women, generally speaking, could not vote at this time because this was before the 19th Amendment of 1920. All right, and you're going to have a period of time during Reconstruction that we're making advances. We are some of us are acquiring land. We are starting businesses, building schools, getting education. You have the U.S. Bureau of Freedmen, Refugees, and Abandoned Lands, the Freedmen's Bureau. You have the Freedmen's Bank, all this created by Congress. You're going to have the U.S. Department of Justice also, that's created in 1870 as an act of Congress, designed to largely protect the new rights that African Americans are being given. Okay, we're going to see all this take place during this period of time known as Reconstruction. And the history of Reconstruction is not really taught about in schools. And this causes a huge problem because your understanding of politics is directly related to your understanding of history. So we walk you through our history. We look at the Red Summer of 1919, the year after World War I ends, World War I, 1914 and 1918. The Red Summer, you had 25 major race riots across the country, okay, during the Red Summer of 1919. You had a huge race riot in Chicago. And what happened was you had, during World War I, you have about 5 million men that fight, 5 million men from the U.S. who fight in World War I. Most of them are white. You're going to have African-American men who fight as well. And when these white men leave to go fight in the war, it creates a labor vacuum in this country. And they leave jobs behind. Those jobs are going to be filled by African-Americans who are primarily in the South. And Many of them are going to move from the South up north and go to work in various factories up north. And then also immigrants who were here were getting these jobs as well. When these white men come back from the war, a lot of them can't find jobs, but they bring back with them military skills. They bring back with them weapons. Okay. And you're going to have racial explosions that take place in this country. And you're going to have African American men who fought in the war also. They brought back military skills. They brought back weapons as well. And they are protecting their communities against these white supremacists attacking the communities, attacking their communities. Okay. This is known as the Red Summer of 1919. And it was called the Red Summer by James Weldon Johnson, because the streets of America were flowing with blood. And this is the same James Weldon Johnson who wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. Okay. Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem. All right. Now, so we'll deal with the Red Summer 1919, the Jim Crow era, where they're rewriting state constitutions, imposing poll taxes and literacy tests and segregation, and segregating African Americans out of opportunity. And the other part that dealing with segregation that a lot of times is not tied to the laws is the racial violence that was inflicted upon African Americans to keep the laws in place and keep enforcing the laws. Because oftentimes many of us will romanticize segregation and make it seem like everybody, all African Americans were wealthy, all African Americans owned businesses and owned homes and things like this during segregation. No, that was not the case at all. Even though you did have some who were entrepreneurs and owned businesses, owned banks and things like this. No, you still had a lot of us in poverty, even in Black Wall Street. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, all African Americans in Black Wall Street were not multimillionaires. All of them were not wealthy. All of them were not rich. You had poor African Americans that lived in Tulsa and in North Tulsa, in where African Americans live North Tulsa. And Black Wall Street was the business district that started at the intersection of Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. But you're going to have some African Americans who work for white people in South Tulsa, across the railroad tracks. Okay, so a lot of times we romanticize segregation. So we'll deal with World War I, World War II, the Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power movement. Okay, and really focus on how we fought back against white supremacy and racism, the various ways we fought back. The civil rights. It's important to understand this chronology of history to get a better understanding of how we got to where we are now, to understand where do we go from here. Unfortunately, some of this history is repeating itself, okay? And America needs a massive history lesson. And during my Juneteenth presentations for this year, for 2024, one of the things I was talking about is how in our Juneteenth celebrations, we have to incorporate history, economics, law, and politics. History, economics, law, and politics. Now, some of you all watch CNN. You see CNN legal analyst Areva Martin. Areva Martin also has a radio show on KBLA 1580 AM out of Southern California, Tavis Smiley's radio station, and she had me on her show back on June 18th to talk about Juneteenth. And this is one of the things that we talked about on the show. If you go to my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep, we have the video right there of the interview. And I'm dealing with some of the history of Juneteenth, but also we're talking about politics as well, because Juneteenth is related to politics also. And this is, Juneteenth gives us an opportunity to force a national conversation on a history that Republicans are passing laws in various state legislatures to suppress the teaching of that history. This is one of the reasons why Juneteenth is so important, okay? But we have to correct the history of Juneteenth, and we have to protect the history of Juneteenth. There's a lot of misinformation floating around dealing with Juneteenth and that period of history and slavery, things like this, right? Okay, so if you go to my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep, we have video there of the interview that Areva Martin did with me on her radio show. This is Juneteenth was not the last day of slavery. Juneteenth was not the last day of slavery, repairing the damage of a legacy of slavery. Okay, so it was an excellent interview that she did with me. So check that out. All right, let's continue here. How's everybody doing? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Now, one of the things that's important to understand when we look at this chronology of history, okay, and one of the reasons why this class is so important is Christopher Columbus, when he lands on the island of Hispaniola, December 6, 1492, right? We know on that island of Hispaniola, that's where you have Haiti. That's where you have the Dominican Republic. And we're going to see the areas that Columbus conquers in his 4 voyages. And a lot of those areas are going to fall into the hands of other European nations. Some, even though they're colonized by the Spanish. Okay. And then we can draw a direct line from the fall of Reconstruction in 1877 to the January 6, 2021 insurrection. Okay, now there was an excellent article from Time magazine that we use in the class, and it talks about how most schools don't teach about the history of Reconstruction. In the aftermath of the insurrection a year ago at the U.S. Capitol, now this article came out January 12, 2022. In the aftermath of the insurrection a year ago at the U.S. Capitol, many leading historians drew parallels between the violence and the Reconstruction Era, the period of political revolution directly following the American Civil War. Okay, the period of political revolution directly following the American Civil War. Quote, the events we saw reminded me very much of the Reconstruction Era and the overthrow of Reconstruction, which was often accompanied, or accomplished, I should say, by the violent assaults on elected officials, said Eric Foner, Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and author of Reconstruction, America's Unfinished Revolution, 1863 to 1877. He said this in an interview with the New Yorker magazine published a week after the January 6th insurrection. Now, Eric Foner is one of the top historians dealing with the Reconstruction Era. Okay. Scholars say studying the aftermath of the U.S. Civil War, which is 1861 to 1865, can help put into context many of the most seminal events in the U.S. in recent years, from the brutal murder of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis, Minnesota, May 25th, 2020, to the voter suppression laws enacted after African-American voters played a big role in helping Joe Biden and Kamala Harris be elected president and vice president in 2020. But despite the timeliness of the era in today's climate, many students in American schools will not get a full education on Reconstruction until they go to college. But a lot of those students are not going to go to college. Okay, so where are they going to get the information from dealing with the Reconstruction Era? Okay, so this is why this type of information is so important. So check out this article here from Time magazine. It's a really good piece, and we've talked about it here. We've talked about it on the African History Network show before. It's an article I use in my classes. Name of this article is "A New Report Finds That 45 States Are Failing to Teach Students About the Period That Shaped Race Relations After the Civil War." A new report finds that 45 states are failing to teach students about the period that shaped race relations after the Civil War. It's a good article by Olivia B. Waxman, January 12, 2022, for Time magazine. Okay, and the article goes on to say, in social studies standards for 45 out of 50 states and the District of Columbia, Discussion on Reconstruction is partial or non-existent. Discussion on Reconstruction is partial or non-existent, according to historians who reviewed how the period is discussed in K through 12 social studies standards for public schools nationwide. In a report produced by the education nonprofit Zen Education Project, the study's authors say they are concerned that American children will grow up to be uninformed about a critical period of history that helps explain why full racial equality remains unfulfilled today. That helps explain why full racial equality remains unfulfilled today. So this history of the past and the laws and policies put in place decades ago have a direct impact on conditions today and the structural inequities that exist today. The 8-to-1 racial wealth gap does not exist because white people are 8 times smarter. It does not exist because white people work 8 times harder. The 8-to-1 racial wealth gap today exists because of laws and policies that maldistribute wealth, power, and resources into the hands of white people in this country. When you have a law like the Homestead Act of 1862, during the second year of the Civil War, the Homestead Act gives away land. It gives away 270 million acres of land for 124 years. Okay, and this almost exclusively went to white people in this country, as opposed to going to the African Americans who worked for 246 years for free on that land. Okay, read this article here from history.com, the official website of the History Channel. The U.S. Congress repealed this law in 1976. The U.S. Congress repealed this law in 1976. Name of this article is Homestead Act. It's at history.com, official website of the History Channel. The Homestead Act accelerated settlement of U.S. Western territory by allowing any American, including freed slaves, to put in a claim for up to 160 free acres of federal land. However, okay, they had to pay a nominal fee for it, but the overwhelming majority of this land went to white people. The Homestead Act of 1862, signed by President Abraham Lincoln, granted Americans 160-acre plots of public land for the price of a small filing fee. The Civil War era act, considered one of the United States' most important pieces of legislation, led to westward expansion and allowed citizens of all walks of life, including formerly enslaved women and immigrants, to become landowners. But when you go and you dig into the details, the land almost exclusively went to white people. And there are tens of thousands of white families today that still have land in their families that was issued decades ago. Okay, so they gave away over 270 million acres of land. He followed through with the passage of the Homestead Act, which remained active for 124 years until it was repealed in 1976 and resulted in 10% of U.S. land, or 270 million acres of land, to be claimed and settled. So when you hear people talk about, oh, what do those, slavery was a long time ago, what does that history have to do with today? This is a specific example of how this history decades ago shows up in the racial wealth gap today, and how this history decades ago impacts what's taking place right now. Okay, so read the rest of this article here. I don't have time to get deep into it. Homestead Act at history.com. Now, this took place during the U.S. Civil War. Okay, this took place during the U.S. Civil War. So why isn't this talked about a lot? Because if you start digging into this history from this period of time, then you'll start finding out other things that happen that have a direct impact on what's taking place today as well. All right, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. And you can register for this new 10-week online course at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. This is Black Resistance Movements, 1492 to 1968, Christopher Columbus, Haitian Revolution, Black Power, how Black people fought white supremacy, okay? From Christopher Columbus to the Haitian Revolution and the Black Power movement, how Black people fought white supremacy. So we have the information right at the top of our website right here. Next class is Sunday, July 21st, 2024, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can register, click right here to register for the full course. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. And we have a class preview here as well. You can watch right on the website. We're going to upload the class lesson plans as well for this class. And the first class that I teach on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have a new class starting up Saturday, July 20th, of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Okay, so we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Click right here to register here for the course bundle. Right now, the course bundle, both classes, is on sale $120. And even a year from now, 2 years from now, you can go back and watch the entire course. Okay, even after the class is over with, you still have full access, so you can go back and watch the entire course. Okay, now let's continue here. All right, so we get to see, when we go through and look at this chronology of history, we get to see how this history of the past shows up in structural inequities today. It shows up in our politics today. And we've seen an attack with these on critical race theory. We've seen these anti-critical race theory laws that are passed in a lot of these former Confederate states. And we see also an attack on African American History Month, Black History Month, and how this history is taught in schools. Axios.com had this article, New Rules Are Limiting How Teachers Can Teach Black History Month. There's an article from USA Today, mock slave auctions, racist lessons, how U.S. history class often traumatizes, dehumanizes Black students. Republican state lawmakers want to punish schools that teach the 1619 Project. There's another article from USA Today. Okay, so we see this constantly in the news, and we see how this also impacts our politics as well. All right, now we look at the Haitian Revolution and the Louisiana Purchase because those two events are related. All right, the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, the U.S. gets 828,000 square miles of land for, it's about a total of about $15 million. And they get this land from France. Okay, now France stole this land from Native Americans and Africans who were here. So France did not have a legal claim to this land. And the Louisiana Purchase was assigned into law by Thomas Jefferson, basically doubles the territory of the U.S. at the time. And what was known at the time as the Louisiana Territory stretched from the Mississippi River in the east to the Rocky Mountains in the west, and from the Gulf of Mexico in the south to the Canadian border in the north. Part or all of 15 states were eventually created in this land deal, which was considered one of the most important achievements of Thomas Jefferson's presidency. Okay, now, and here's a map here that shows the area in the middle of the United States that came from the Louisiana Purchase. Now, one of the reasons why France sold this land is because they were getting their behinds kicked by the Haitians during the Haitian Revolution. Okay, this is one of the reasons why France sold this land. And when we look at the nation of Haiti, right, it's on the island of what became known as Hispaniola. Okay, Hispaniola. And Columbus sights that island December 6, 1492. Now, there is a good piece here because, see, we associate Haiti with the French, right? But that island was a Spanish colony before it became a French colony. It was a Spanish colony before it became a French colony. Britannica.com has a really, really good piece. It's about 26 pages dealing with the history of Haiti going back to when the island of Hispaniola was conquered by Christopher Columbus, right? And if we look here, there's a section called Early Period in Haiti in history. And it talks about how the island that now includes Haiti and the Dominican Republic was first inhabited about 5,000 BCE. First inhabited about 5,000 BCE before the Common Era. And farming villages were established about 300 BCE before the Common Era. The Arawak Native Americans, Arawak Indians, and other indigenous peoples later developed large communities there. The Taino, which was a group of the Arawaks, became dominant. Also prominent were the Ciboney, Ciboney. In the 15th century, between 100,000 and several million Taino and Ciboney lived on the island, which the Taino called Quisqueya. Okay, so this is the island of Hispaniola. Okay, and Columbus names that island La Isla Española, which means the Spanish island. Okay, right here, La Isla Española, which means the Spanish island. La Isla Española becomes anglicized to Hispaniola. But that island was originally called Quisqueya by the Taino. Okay, it's called Quisqueya by the Taino. And Quisqueya means mother of the earth. So this is first going to be a Spanish colony, okay? And in 1697, the French are going to take over the western third of that island where Haiti is. They're going to take over the western third from the Spanish in 1697. This is how Haiti becomes, or Haiti becomes, a Spanish colony. I would say it becomes a French colony. Over the next few decades, the Spanish enslaved vast numbers of Taino and Ciboney to mine for gold. European diseases and brutal working conditions devastated the indigenous population, which fell to about 30,000 by 1514. By the end of the 16th century, the group had virtually vanished. Thousands of enslaved people imported from other Caribbean islands met the same fate. The Spanish altered the landscape by introducing cattle, pigs, and horses, which multiplied into large herds. Spanish settlement was mostly restricted to the eastern end of the island, and many Spaniards left Hispaniola after the main gold mines were exhausted. French pirates in the mid-16th century entrenched themselves firmly on Torture Island and other islands off the western end of Hispaniola. Subsequently, both French and British buccaneers, or pirates, held bases there. Permanent settlements began to develop, including plantations. In the 1660s, the French founded Port de Paix in the Northwest, and the French West Indies Corporation took control of the area. Landowners in Western Hispaniola imported increasing numbers of enslaved Africans, which totaled about 5,000 in the 17th century. Now, it's going to be the Treaty of Ridgewick of 1697. This is going to be the treaty that formally ceded the western third of the island of Hispaniola from Spain to France. And France is going to rename that western third of the island as the colony of Saint Dominique. The colony of Saint Dominique. And And the colony's population, or Saint Domingue, I should say, Saint Domingue, the colony's population and economic output grew rapidly during the 18th century, and it became France's most prosperous New World possession, exporting sugar and smaller amounts of coffee, indigo, and cotton. All right, but we know the sugarcane plantations were extremely brutal plantations. We know life expectancy on these plantations was probably about 5 to 7 years as well. By the 1780s, nearly 2/3 of France's foreign investments were based on Saint Domingue, and the number of stopovers by ocean-going vessels sometimes exceeded 700 per year. Okay, so so Christopher Columbus, and one of the books we reference in this class is Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust, Slavery and the Rise of European Capitalism, by Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Okay, this is one of the books we reference in the class, and we get to see this book right here. Okay, we get to see how Christopher Columbus sets into motion the expansion of slavery, laying the foundation for racism, capitalism, and the exploitation of indigenous people. This is Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust, Slavery and the Rise of European Capitalism by Dr. John Henrik Clarke. So you don't have to buy any of the books in class. We take you through, we show you excerpts of the books on screen. But if you want it for your own personal library, it's a good addition to your own personal library. All right, let's continue here. How's everybody doing? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. And visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, let me see something here. Why is it? Let me see. Okay, we're going to end this broadcast.